Let's get some reaction to the announcement made by former President Jacob Zuma that he will not be backing the ANC next year and its impact in the party. We're joined now by the Youth League, the youth wing of the party, and their spokesperson, Zama Khanyase, joining us. Zama, good to have you, and thank you very much for your time this evening. What has been the reaction within the ranks of the ANC Youth League following the announcement by former President Jacob Zuma that he will not be campaigning for the party that which you will be campaigning for?
Good evening. Thank you for having us. Well, as the ANC Youth League, we have obviously received the news, and all structures currently of the movement are applying themselves to this news, and a proper view will be formulated and will be tabled by, I believe, not only the ANC Youth League, but the ANC itself. So these are quite big news, obviously, understanding the statue of former President Zuma, and it is not a view, there's no view that can immediately be formulated and communicated. As such, we are still applying ourselves.
Is this, in your view, a reaction that would certainly get groundswell within the ranks of the ANC, especially since it's being carved and couched in the terms of the military wing of the ANC?
Well, if we can talk about the military wing of the ANC, we all know that when MK was formed by the ANC itself. That means that MK historically, since its inception, has always not operated outside the perimeters of the ANC. So that is why I still believe that even the matter of Umkhonto weSizwe as a brand itself being utilized, i.e. the ANC will definitely have a view on the matter, as I'm saying that MK is a direct formation of the ANC itself.
Do you think this, in a sense, will be a dent in the history of Umkhonto weSizwe to benefit a particular individual that seemingly is disgruntled with the way the ANC is currently operating? And we will get into some of the 7 issues that have been raised.
Well, I think one must firstly say that we love former President Zuma. He is one of our own in the ANC, and we truly believe that there's still space and time for the leadership to be able to sit down with former president and engage with him, because we understand that as an elder of the movement, he may have certain strong views which he's entitled to, and I think that there can be a room for engagement on that part. So I think at this point, we just want to clearly state of the ANC Youth League that we truly love former President Zuma, and that and as the ANC Youth League, we are in belief that members of the ANC are going to wait steadily for the views of the leadership of the ANC so that it can give us a directive as to how do we tackle this matter, or what becomes the view of the movement in moving forward. Yeah. But having had stated, obviously, the facts that MK is the formation of the ANC, former President Zuma is one of our own, and leadership is going to be able to give us a line of march in moving forward. So
let's stay there a little bit. Do you think this is the abuse then of brand MK, of brand Umkhonto weSizwe?
Well, MK belongs to the ANC, belongs to all of us as members of the ANC, and it belongs to those who were part of MK, and we all know that President Zuma was also a part of MK, and I think that it remains a platform where those who particularly were also part of the MK can be able to actually raise their views, raise their dissatisfactions in the platform. But we are hopeful that it is going to remain within the movement. Because that is what we've been taught in the ANC. That is what even President Zuma former President Zuma has believed in over the years, that whatever dissatisfactions we have must be raised within the movement. And I believe that MK, being an organization that he was a part of, or let me say he is a part of, because they remain combatants of MK. It remains a platform where he can be able to raise his issues, but we are hopeful that it is going to remain within the movement, it's going to remain within the ANC, because MK belongs to the ANC.
Yeah. I mean, being in the ANC, I don't have to teach you the history of the ANC. I'm sure you know very well that in 1990, the leadership of the ANC decided to suspend the armed struggle, and therefore in 1993, Umkhonto we Sizwe was disbanded as a military wing of the ANC, although they remain, of course, within the ANC, the veterans of Umkhonto we Sizwe, and remain an acknowledged structure within the party. They play a role, and do you think they could certainly still play even a bigger role in saving the ANC from itself? Do you think they need to do that?
Well, the ANC, I don't think the ANC needs to be saved from itself.
Yeah.
Let me start
well,
there.
former President Jacob Zuma certainly seems to think it does need to be saved. That hence he's taken this decision politically.
Well, President Zuma is very much entitled to his views. And as the ANC Youth League, we believe that the leadership that we have at a national level, the leadership of the ANC Youth League and other recognized structures of the movement in different levels very much have the capacity to be able to self-correct where they need to self-correct. And I think we've been having those platforms. That is why the ANC has been having manifesto reviews, for example, throughout the country in provinces at regional levels, where we're looking at how far have we come as a movement that is in government. What have we done? What are the misses? What is it that we can be able to do better? Where can we do better? And that is a demonstration of a leadership of the ANC that is willing to be able to correct some of the wrongs that may be there and improve, especially as we go towards 2024 general elections. So that's why I beg to differ, because I think we are allowed, obviously, to differ in certain aspects, because that is the nature of politics. We all are entitled to our views. So that is why I'm saying that, obviously, President Zuma is entitled to his views, and these are our views as the ANC clique. But when it comes to MK, MK suspended the armed struggle, yes. But it remained a recognized structure in the movement, because as long as we still have MK combatants, then it means that MK must still remain until the last member, I believe, is gone, because the MK can continue to recruit. The formation of MK was based on the struggle that we were facing at the time, and we understand that nature is taking its course. More and more MK combatants, some of them have retired, but they remain a part of MK. Some of them, because of health and other, are no longer with us.
Yeah.
So that means that the number will decrease as the years go on. But it remains a very important organ of the movement, and we acknowledge it, and it remains a proper platform for our veterans to be able to be organized and be able to state their views about, and also offer any sort of help that they can to keep the ANC alive. And I do believe that we have those MK soldiers who remain within the movement to protect it and make sure that it's going to remain intact.
How do you sustain your argument? I'm quite interested in that. How do you sustain your argument that you've just made now, when a 81-year-old who's been in the ANC for 62 years says he doesn't see the ANC self-renewing? It's actually him saying this organization right now cannot renew itself, and the only savior of it is that there needs to be a new Umkhonto we Sizwe party that we're going to vote for to fix the ANC. You're fairly young. I mean, he'll look at you and say, what do you know about the ANC that he doesn't know that makes you sustain that view that the ANC has the ability to self-correct?
Well, let me say this first. The interesting part is, being a former president, of course, as myself, I have led side by side with President Zuma when he was president of the ANC. And majority of the things that I'm talking about now are things that were taught by President Zuma himself. That is why we love him so much, because he was an epitome of political education, a walking library of the ANC. And we're still where he left us. We are still where we are optimistic. We are the youth league of the ANC. We're the preparatory school of the ANC. We're the future of the ANC. So there's no way that as the ANC youth league we can concur or agree to a view that says the ANC there's no hope for the ANC. There's definitely hope for the ANC. We're here as the ANC youth league. We're here as young people who are still very much members of the ANC and believe that it remains the future of this country. So President Zuma, or former President Zuma, let me say, being a veteran of the ANC at the age that he's in, we understand that he may have his certain views, and we respect them. You know, when an elder of the movement has strong views, it just calls for a room for engagement. And I think that our leadership, the National Executive Committee of the ANC, is going to be able to lead us in that process, so that we're able to sit down and have an engagement with him. I think this is not the first time that the ANC has encountered such, and we have been able over the years to be able to sit down and engage. But also we need to be able to remember that even beyond engagements, we may find a situation where one unable, for example, to find a common ground. And that there will be nothing wrong about that, because at the end of the day, we are in politics. But the view of the ANC Youth League remains that the ANC is still very much an organization that can lead us to the promised land.
So while we are there, I mean, you've expressed your love for former President Jacob Zuma and the call that you're making. Others have said, not even in history, even just last week, there was a member of the ANC who's been in the party 62 years, an elder who resigned and now, of course, was later engaged and withdrew that resignation and is back within the fold. And others have been saying, well, equally so, like they would have engaged Mavuso Msimang, former President Jacob Zuma, should be engaged on his views. However, there are others who are saying he's in breach of Rule 2518, if I'm not mistaken, or 17 or around there, for expressing his interest and boldly so campaigning for another party, even going to the extent of asking people to register for that party. So he's completely in breach and therefore should be sanctioned accordingly as per the rules of the ANC. What's the position of the ANC Youth League? I suppose you might broadly speak about it. It's not something that you have formulated solidly.
Well, I think before we make more and more assumptions, before we make more and more, and to some extent even cast aspersions, let's allow the leadership of the ANC to lead us on this matter. We have so much trust and hope in the collective wisdom of the National Executive Committee of the ANC. And I really do believe that they are going to be able to lead us on this matter. We currently know that even former President Zuma himself is part of the National Executive Committee because he is former presidents have. He's
an ex-officio member, yes, of the NEC.
So he's in the right. I think that he's going to be able to be engaged, and then we're going to be able to formulate a view in moving forward. But also, even in terms of the position that the movement is going to take in moving forward, the collective wisdom of the NEC will be able to be applied on this matter.
And the question then becomes. Are you saying that because you believe there is no success within the ANC outside of former President Jacob Zuma, and therefore he should be dealt with understanding to keep him around?
Well, there's definitely success of the ANC through different generations, through different times. There will be success of the ANC. The success of the ANC, I don't want to base this one solely on former President Zuma. The success of the ANC is not based on individuals. The success of the ANC is based on its progressive policies. The successes of the ANC is based on the National Democratic Revolution, which we are pushing as the African National Congress, which guides all actions of the ANC, which in the ultimate end says that we are going to reach a national democratic society when all citizens of South Africa are living in peace and prosperity, having all that they need to be able to sustain themselves and to be able to have a life that is comfortable for all citizens. That is what the ANC speaks about. And I truly believe that that can never change. As long as that does not change, as long as we still maintain those policies, then the ANC will be successful, because it speaks the language of the people. It speaks about transforming the lives of people, and it has been doing that. It has been very intentional in making sure that even those that come from areas that would make you look that there is no hope here, but the ANC-led government has been able to say every young person will have access to education from primary to high school. From there, go on to university and study with NEFSA, so that they can be able to go and enter the job market, having the necessary skills to change their lives. That is what the ANC speaks about. And I think that for as long as we still maintain those policies, then there will be success for the ANC.
If we look at the 7 pressing issues that former President Jacob Zuma is raising as the reason for his withdrawing his support for the ANC, a large number of them, in fact, if you look at them really, 6 out of the 7 stem from the state capture inquiry, from a matter that he says he was forced basically to not be given the right to appoint a chairperson of that inquiry the way that he would have wanted to, via the courts and the public protectors binding recommendations that Chief Justice Mogoeng be the one who chooses who will chair that committee, to the conference of 2017, to the expulsion of Esma Khashule, which, of course, the step-aside rule would have also emerged out of the process of state capture, that the ANC then decided anyone who would be implicated there or anyone who would be charged, then the step-aside rule will have to be applied. So if you look at them, generally all of them, because they have specifics, but they would stem out of the state capture inquiry. Do you think that would be the thing that is the big rift within the ANC, and how the ANC would have handled it?
You see, just the issues that you are counting will tell you that these are issues that, for example, an ordinary citizen in South Africa who is still expecting a lot from the government, from the ANC-led government, who is still waiting for the ANC-led government to finally reach their corner in this country and be able to transform their lives. These issues that are being counted would not necessarily apply to them. That is why I feel that, or our view as the ANC clique is that this matter is not a matter for the public to be so much focused on. This is a matter that requires those who are relevant in government, for the leadership at a national level. These are matters to be discussed at that level, and to be able to address whatever concerns that former President Zuma may have, so that finally a resolution is met on those issues. But I don't think that they should warrant to say that the ANC as an organization now can no longer continue staying alive and changing people's lives. I really don't think that all of these matters listed should warrant to say that even other individuals who were still counting on the ANC to change their lives would now want to actually say that I'm not going to vote for the ANC because of the matters that you have listed here. I think that we should be able to say, as leadership, as citizens, as everyone concerned and involved, we must be able to separate issues. These matters raised by President Zuma, he may have a standing on why they are worrying him a lot and why he feels that they need to be spoken about. And that space and time must be allocated, and they must be engaged with the integrity that they deserve, with the focus that they deserve. But again, in the meantime, we must be able to say that we still have people in this country who are counting on the ANC-led government to change their lives. We have been promised by the ANC-led government in different elections, which the ANC-led government actually has been able to even identify that these are our gray areas. These are areas that we still need to focus on, and which we are gearing up to make sure that we attend to those matters and make sure that everyone is tagged along in the development that is happening in this country. Yeah. So I really do feel that I trust the wisdom of the leadership. I even trust the wisdom of former President Zuma himself, that we are going to be able to reach a point where we say let us separate matters. Let us have a platform to address his issues that he is concerned about. But at the same time, let us not say that the ANC can no longer be the vehicle to transform people's lives, because it still is.
Interesting that I mean, if I read it in summary, of course you're saying a whole lot more, but you are not seeing these issues as, for lack of a better term, bread and butter issues that would affect the ordinary man on the street. You see them more as internal functions of the ANC that should be resolved within the leadership inside the party, where there should be a degree of engagement. So, as we say that, do you see a President Zuma and a President Cyril Ramaphosa sitting at the table and finding a resolution to the issues that they have around each other? Because it seems to me a lot of what the former president is concerned about is the current president. He puts a lot of blame in the current president for the state of where the ANC is.
I don't want to base it on President Cyril Ramaphosa and former President Zuma, because I think even President Zuma himself knows that the ANC has always operated with collective leadership. There is always a platform, but the platform is not always about one-on-one, but there is always collective leadership. Whatever decisions that are taken are always decisions that are on the collective. Whenever the ANC has to take decisions, you have the National Working Committee, you have the National Executive Committee. I think even in governance itself, you won't have, there are certain areas where the president would have the absolute veto on certain matters. Yeah. But most of the time, it is their consultation processes, because at all times, there's always collective responsibility and leadership. Yeah. And I really do not want to be drawn to a point where we are going to make the whole issue about President Cyril Ramaphosa and former President Zuma, because I really do not think that is the case. So, but in answering you, I would then say that, as I've stated in the beginning of our interview, that the collective leadership of the ANC will be able to lead those particular engagements. And whatever views that will be stated by the ANC will be views of the collective leadership. And I really do not want us to continue basing the discussion on President Cyril and former President Zuma, because that is not how the ANC operates. At all times, there is always a platform to engage issues with a collective leadership. And even if you can deploy certain individuals to go and engage President Zuma, if it's not the whole ANC, but it would be one through a mandate of a collective leadership, and whatever report that would come back would go to a collective leadership. That is how the ANC operates.
Speaking for the ANC Youth League, Zama Khanyase, much appreciated. Thank you very much for coming on and engaging with us here this evening.